False alarm. False alarm. I'm sorry. You guys want to finish what you're... I didn't see her standing there. Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. Amanda, can you do the pledge? Yeah.
Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So I guess we'll just start with the roll call, right, Carol?
Yes.
All right.
Councilmember Cortez.
Here.
Councilmember Cartwright.
Here.
Councilmember Nisley.
Here.
Mayor Youngblood.
Here.
And David Ring is out absent today.
So does anybody want to move to adopt the agenda?
I move to adopt.
Thank you.
Second.
Councilmember Cortez.
Aye.
Councilmember Cartwright.
Aye.
Councilmember Nisley.
Yes.
Mayor Youngblood.
Aye. Almost turned my mic off. So we're at recognitions and proclamations. Do we have any? I guess we should start with, Amanda, do you want to go first and we can go this way?
There is none.
There is none? Okay, well I just figured I'd check. You never know. So then matters of the interest to council members. Do you want to start? Amanda, you want to start? And then we can go this way?
I have none at this time.
Okay.
None.
Go ahead.
Okay, I have a couple.
I'll do mine last.
First of all, I wanted to, I got the notice that the town has canceled the summer concert, and it's going to be over 110, and wanted to make sure that that everybody knew that the band was okay with that, and the chamber was okay with that happened. And then also that swim was canceled because it was over 105, and that decision is made by the life instructor at Del Oro, not our staff. The other thing I wanted to say, really exciting today, the Placer County Transportation Planning Agency, Placer County Transit, and Seniors First came over to the Senior Center and gave transit service mobility training, and they have this available for anybody, and I'll go ahead and post it on my Facebook later, but you can call in and they will teach you and show you. They'll come to your house and show you how you can use the bus system to get to certain things. And this is really important for the seniors, so I was really proud that they came out and did that today. And that's all I have.
Okay. And then I just want to mention or remind everybody, since we had the resolution, that Paul's Place is going to be having our event on Thursday. So if anybody's interested in coming, please reach out to me. There's several people in the audience as well that you probably know that might be part of it. You can as well. But I just wanted to say that for anybody who is interested and wanted to know more about this, it's actually this Thursday at 7 p.m. at the Blue Goose. So with that, we will move on to the town manager report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to highlight a few things in the manager report. As always, the manager report is included in the agenda packet for all those that wish to read it. A couple of these items are also reflected in the engineer report as well, and I just wanted to really highlight them on there. In particular, the Horseshoe Bar I-80 interchange project staff released the project study report. Thank you, Richard, for doing that. That's one of his first tasks when he came on board. He did a great job getting that out. we're hopeful that we'll have a contract awarded sometime in late September to move forward with that project. A new feature that I've added to this manager's report is at the bottom of each of the sections, I identify what initiative, council goal initiative, that this project actually aligns with in there. So for reference for council and for the public as well too. And as always, and I will continue to do throughout the years, include the council's goals for the years as a reminder to the council and the public is what the goals were set for. You'll notice on the visual aid as part of the PSR study, you can see the footprint of what the study is going to look at. The section of Horseshoe Bar Road and the section of I-80. It's all highlighted in the blue section in there. Next item, this is from the engineering department as well too, and this is also part of the council's initiatives and goals is Richard again released the Taylor Road Corridor Study. That's, as you can see in the exhibit in there, the highlighted in green, that's going to be the areas that's going to be studied as part of this process to look at what the treatments should be for those intersections and other alternative transportation needs as a part of that. Hopefully we'll get a consultant on board early August, correct, Richard? Yeah. On there and get that done. Last item I want to highlight is the Downtown Loomis Civic Space and Connectivity Study. This is another one of these projects that meets council's goals. Staff is pursuing a SACOG $250,000 grant. It's for the Engage, Empower, and Implement program, otherwise known as the EEI. This study is going to look at the focus on the downtown area and the town civic spaces that we have available to make improvements if necessary, and also look at the right-of-way connectivity opportunities. So if we looked at parking lots and stuff, finding means to convey people from one area to the next, other than vehicles as well as part of this thing. The grant also requires an extensive outreach, and the town is working with the Chamber of Commerce. They will be our community-based organization, otherwise known as for the grant, the CBO, is the partnership with goals to encourage nonprofit organizations, businesses, and citizens to participate in the process. And then we're hoping that we will hear back on the grant award sometime in September. So, Madam Mayor, that's what I have for tonight. If there's questions from the council or public, I'd be glad to answer them.
Anybody have any questions? Okay. Thank you very much. And we will move to the Loomis Library and Community Learning Center Librarian's Report.
Good evening. So I wanted to start just by mentioning that we are in the middle of our summer reading program going on right now, and we have logged in the community almost 59,000 minutes of reading done for those who have signed up for our reading program. So that's 980 hours or about 40 days worth of reading that people have done, which is really incredible, and we love to see it. As for some events coming up, we've been doing some great events at the library. We've had great turnout, and so we're expecting great turnouts for the rest of them as well. I'm going to start with some events for adults. On July 13th, we have our composting and mulch presentation by our UC Master Gardeners. That's at 10:30. And then if you can't make that, we will, of course, have another one in August, on August 10th at the library about lawn replacement. And then on July 23rd, we have our Spice Club, and they're going to be talking about fresh herbs in July, and that's at 6 o'clock on the 23rd. For all ages, we have croquet tomorrow at 10:30. So if you want to play a round of croquet, you can stop by the library at 10:30 for that. For teens, we have our Chocolate Olympics at 2 o'clock on July 19th. And then on July 20th, we have our manga club at 3 o'clock. And then finally, for kids, we have on this upcoming Friday, salt painting. That's at 2:30. On July 24th, we have story time with Station 18, the firefighters. That's also at 10:30. We are probably going to have to do signups for that because of the amount of interest that we have gotten is astronomical. So we want to avoid, all-out chaos. So if you're interested, please call the library if you want to attend that. On July 25th, we will be doing our final sensory gym. That's at 10:30. And then on July 27th, we have our Read to a Dog program, also at 10:30. And then, of course, every Friday at 10:30, we have story time. So that's all from me. I can answer any questions.
And just a reminder, though, when the library is open, it can be used as a cooling center?
Yes, so the library has wonderful air conditioning, and it is open on Tuesdays until 7 o'clock from 1 to 7, and Wednesday through Saturday from 10 to 5. So if we're open, you are more than welcome to come in and sit and read a book or bring a laptop, work, do what you need to do, and we have space available.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, so now we have Loomis Chamber of Commerce update. She's not here? Okay, all right, well, we will bring that back possibly if she does show up. She's not coming at all? Okay. So then we have Allied Agency Activities update. Who wants to go first?
Thank you. Matt Feely, Deputy Chief, South Placer Fire. No fancy graphics tonight, just my beautiful face. Busy month of June. Total of 388 calls for the entire fire district, with just about 1/4 of those coming from Station 18 right here in Loomis. That's up about 50 calls from the previous year for just the month of June, and it's up about 75 calls from the year prior to that. We've had a total of 21 fires that we've responded to in the month of June, 11 vegetation fires, 3 vehicle fires, 2 trash fires, along with assisting some other allied agencies, Rockland, Lincoln, and such. And those 21 fires are a district stat. Those aren't specific to the Loomis station or Station 18. For the department, we just hired 5 new full-time firefighter paramedics. They're just completed a 4-week training academy. They'll be coming online starting Saturday, so you may see some new faces here in town. We recently also just had another graduate for the Leadership Loomis program within the fire department, so it's an awesome program. August 6th is National Night Out. We'll be working in conjunction with Placer County Sheriffs, so you'll probably see the fire engine going around to the various neighborhoods. And then coming up, open house at Station 18 is been inked in for October 5th. So it should coincide with the Fruit Shed Festival. Did I get that right? Mm-hmm. And we'll be doing the pancake breakfast like they've been doing for years. Board meeting tomorrow night, if anyone wants to attend. South Placer Fire Station 17, 6900 Eureka Road. And I'll just leave you with this public service announcement. It is very hot and it is very dry out there. And it is only going to get hotter and drier. So please be careful with any barbecues, open flames, mowing, things like that. Because it only takes a second for the fires to get started. Any questions?
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi.
Slideshow or the stats. We'll do stats first. Yeah. Hello, everybody. Good
Hi.
to see everyone. Jeff Billity with the Sheriff's Office. Good to see everyone here tonight. I'll do stats, the numbers first, and then we'll get into the fun stuff. So this is just a snapshot of our statistics. The presentation has changed a little bit. The actual job, the person that does that, changed hands, and so the stat collecting changed a bit, which was a little different for me to switch over to, but here we are. So we had 200 for the month of June. We had 246 incidents, 26 reports taken, and 4 transient-related activities. To the right side, suspicious calls, 14. Disturbance calls, 14. Alarm calls, 22. And then traffic stops were 48. If you look at the graph on the bottom, it just gives you how the calls were disposed out, which is the disposition at the end of a deputy at the end of each call has to give a disposition for closing the call out. And that's what you see down there at the bottom. So contacted, and I can give you specific numbers on that because it does not show on there, but it shows on mine. Contacted but with no crime was 147 dispositions of that. So out of all those 246 incidents. So probable cause 40, reports taken were 19, unable to locate. So you called to something and you can't find, the people have since left, whatever the case may be, 13, false alarms 12, 5 arrests, 5 cites. Assist to other agencies was, if I can click on that, 4. And I'm still not sure what LN stands for. So I'm still working on trying to find that out. The pie graphs above just show, it's pretty self-explanatory on the one on the left. Shows the citizens are summoning us a little bit more than deputies making proactive activity stops. The graph to the right of that, the call priority, that just every time a call comes into dispatch, the dispatcher lists it into a priority level, and then it breaks down each one of those calls. So those are the numbers there. So currently, I'll go with usually the, so can we play the video? So, okay, so as you know, it's fire season, right? And so the sheriff's office shares and participates in all of the fires that go on throughout the state of California. We have deputies that are down south and up north. When other agencies call for aid, we do send people to help with patrol-related calls or scene security or fire scene security, that type of stuff. So we're, over the 4th of July weekend, we're spread very thin. Not only did we have Tahoe, North Lake Tahoe festivities that were going on where we had people working there. We had Colfax's fireworks parade, the grounds in Roseville we also worked. So in addition to that, a bunch of fires are going on. Currently, our fire within our county is called the Royal Fire. As of 5 p.m. today, it updated to 215 acres and at 15% containment. We do have unified command going on up there, so there is our command and control up there, and we do have a number of deputies work in the area. This video, if we're able to play it, is just an illustration of the county at which all of you live in and the benefits that we have within having a nice county with very good equipment. 13 to 15 hikers were out on a hike when this fire kicked off. They were all juveniles except just a few very early 20 adults, and were caught running from this fire literally. And so the right after the fire came in at I think around 5 p.m. the next morning, the helicopter was up there and located them with a very short period of time. This is just video footage if we're able to play it.
Oh, wow.
Little 45-second. It's a news story, but it gives you a visual of what our video looks like.
13 hikers who have been missing in the fire zone have been found safe now. According to the Placer County Sheriff's Office, they were located by one of its helicopter teams. The hikers range in age from 16 to 20. The area is made up of steep and difficult terrain. A search and rescue crew is now hiking out with them, and will, of course, bring you more information on the story as it becomes available to us. Meantime, that fire dubbed the Royal Fire has now burned 170 acres. There is no containment here. It started yesterday west of Soda Springs. People living in the area have been warned to be prepared to leave at a moment's notice. The cause of the fire is still under investigation, but according to CAL FIRE, it was reportedly caused by a campfire.
The only reason why I show this is to show that
Hot rooms turn icy cold instantly without...
So I show this just to show that our helicopter was obviously actively involved in this and was able to find all those young hikers. Another couple other news-related programs show the parents, obviously they were scared of, the potential of what could happen. So we were just actively out there. So that's on the fire side of things. For the month of June, I'll just touch on, because I brought this up at our last meeting. At the end of June, our Explorers, which is our 14 to 18-year-old kids that are our Explorer group for the Placer County Sheriff's Office, went and traveled to Ripon to compete against 35 other law enforcement agencies in the Explorer competition. The 9 Explorers that represented us made us proud. They secured a first place overall in a DUI stop scenario, third place overall in hostage negotiation, and second place overall in the obstacle course, physical obstacle course. It says throughout the 14 different scenarios, the proctors consistently praised the Placer County Sheriff's Office as one of the top agencies at the competition. So made us very proud. These are kids within our community that we, train, and I had a part in that, so that's why I brought it up in this meeting. Very, very proud in that. So other than that, it's just been a busy month and a busy start to July. So does anyone have any questions for me?
No, but that's amazing.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Deputy, I just wanted to comment that in my military experience, I've been involved in a lot of competitions and we wouldn't call it interagency, you'd call it in between branches of service and whatnot. And so I recognize that your success with these young explorers is a direct reflection on your leadership and also of example-centered leadership, right? Because they're following you. And you set the tone and the example and the standard, and they in turn follow when they're motivated. So congrats to you, and I recognize that took effort and to earn those results.
Yeah, thank you.
So.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you. All right, so this is the public comment for items that are not on the agenda. As a reminder, I'm not going to read the whole statement, but this is the opportunity where you can come up and you can do public comment, and it doesn't have to have anything to do with what's currently on the agenda tonight. So is there anybody in the public currently that would like to come up and speak on anything? If
I'm
so,
going to go ahead and capture this right from the start.
Okay.
Pam Blake has asked us to read her comment. She was here for the
Okay.
meeting, and she was involved in an accident out in the parking lot. So she asked that we bring up that number one, she had mentioned before the need to have a touch opening pad at the library, and she still thinks that's very important. She had several comments about the large number of fireworks, everything in Loomis is illegal, but the safe and sane and the illegal fireworks, and the ability to have fire respond was not as optimal as someone would like, given the large number of illegal fireworks that were going. She also mentioned that she is, some of it I can't understand, so I'm really sorry, Pam, that she made comment the Del Oro swim program was closed for 2 days last week due to the excessive heat. As Jenny said, that the rules that they follow for the heat that the kids can be working as a lifeguard is anything of above 105, they had to close it. So that wasn't our call. That was a safety regulation. And then she made the same comment that she just got the message that the summer concert was canceled for this Friday. And again, it's the same reason. We were approached by both the chamber and the band saying that at the predicted temperatures of 110 to 115, that they did not think it'd be safe for them to be there or that it would be well attended. Thank you, Pam. I hope I did you well.
Is Pam okay? Like you said,
I'm thinking probably, but she did want to, her neck was hurting, so she did want to get it checked out, so.
Okay. Well,
I have it as a non-injury collision, so.
oh, okay, good. Okay. All right, so, Oh, yeah, well, hopefully she's okay. Pam, if you're listening, we hope that you have a fast recovery. And then Russ, if you want to come up, you're more than welcome to at this time.
I haven't had a chance to, I'm Russ Kelly. I haven't had a chance to talk to anyone yet, especially the fire department or the sheriff's department. But over on King Road, behind the church on King Road going up the hill, one of my friends woke up early in the morning to mortar going off. And he actually had a doorbell camera that showed the kid and the mortar, and it basically covered the whole street, his whole street in front of his house with fire. It was lit up. And so he doesn't seem to be able to get satisfactory to him response as to what he can do with that information. So if I'd like to find out exactly how we would handle that so that this doesn't happen again, because this particular kid is kind of not as good as most kids in Loomis as far as doing things the right way. So I'd like to find out what we can do about that and how it can proceed. And I think there's a report to the sheriff's department on it.
Okay.
So the information should be at the sheriff's department and whatever. Thank you.
So can we, okay, yeah,
We'll have the sheriff's department follow up with Russ.
wonderful. Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Anybody else in the audience? Come on up. Okay.
Hi, my name is Steve Boswell. I actually live in Rockland, but I'm a cyclist and I ride through Loomis all the time. I've actually been doing that for 35 years. And I mentioned to Carol Parker a couple months ago that I thought we needed better signs for cyclists, and she said, well, bring one to the town council meeting, you got 3 minutes. So here I am. So the point I want to make is I have ridden literally 1,000 times over Rockland Road, Barton, Horseshoe Bar, King Road. My mind's kind of doing the map right now. For 30 years, I never really had any problems or issues with motor vehicles. And about the time the pandemic started, people kind of seemed to go crazy. I think law enforcement has acknowledged that there was a lot of rough things going on out at the road. So my solution was to get video cameras. So I have a front camera, a rear camera. I put these on my bike. And when somebody does a near miss, we're talking about a truck who targets me like this far away when there's nobody else on the road, I make a video. If it's in the CHP's jurisdiction, I send it to Officer Chris Kelly in Newcastle. And if it's in Loomis, I send it to Deputy Bilodeau. There he is right there. We've gotten to know each other. So my concern is that in that 3 years, in the last couple of years, I've logged 30 incidents in Loomis Basin. 10 of those have been on Rockland Road. And that one little quarter-mile section of Rockland Road in Loomis, people think is a freeway on-ramp. I mentioned this to Merrill Buck a couple years ago. I copied PCTPA. Merrill said, well, we don't have any money. We're not going to have any money. That was kind of the end of the conversation. I had a couple conversations with Merrill that didn't go anywhere. But my concern is that we need better signage. And the signage that I would propose looks like this. And Carol was my motivation to get this made. And I think Jeff and others would probably be interested in this. This is actually going to be installed soon in Placer County. On behalf of Sierra Foothills Cycling Club, I offered a proposal to the Department of Public Works, and that was accepted as going out to bid. They're going to be installed on Placer Hills Road. And wow, that went fast.
You still have 15 seconds.
Yeah. But
oh, 45 seconds? Okay.
My proposal would be to install these in place of some of the existing signage on Rockland Road. And it's much more specific to what the legal requirement is, which is the advantage. The share the road signs, a lot of people feel are too ambiguous. I should mention Chris Kelly actually did a little bit of research on my behalf and looked up the location where a lot of these vehicles originated from. 50% of the offending vehicles that targeted me on Rockland Road were actually from outside Placer County. Really? So the important thing is to realize is that Rockland Road is becoming a regional thoroughfare. And we need to have some better signage on behalf of cyclists. And hopefully I can work with Deputy Bilodeau and some others and Richard to come up with a proposal to do that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Can I just ask one question? So that part of Rockland Road is Taylor Road, so you're saying right at the gateway of,
From the Rockland Road, from the town boundary with the city of Rockland to Barton Road.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And 85% of the traffic from the Barton and Rockland Road intersection actually heads south. There was actually a study that was done. I'm on the traffic subcommittee of the Granite Bay MAC, and there was a study that was done on Douglas Boulevard, which has 40,000 vehicles per day. 60% of those were found to be originating from outside Placer County, predominantly from Folsom. And I think a lot of that traffic is coming up Barton, and they're hitting Rockland Road through Loomis, and they're just shooting through on the Rockland Road freeway. So
Thank you, Steve.
yeah, it's something to recognize, and hopefully we can work together, Richard, to come up with a solution on that. Thank you.
Jeff, may I ask you a question? This gentleman's sign here proposes 3 feet. I don't recall the exact wording of the statute that was passed probably 1 or 2 years ago, but it was something to the effect of giving wide berth. That sticks in my mind. And do you know if that is actually the verbiage of the California motor vehicle statute? And then,
I don't.
And then how was that? Okay, well, okay, Deputy Billet. So, Deputy, is wide berth defined? So would his 3 feet on his proposed sign be within the statute?
Yeah. 3 feet for Safety Act was probably about 7 to 10 years ago now. The vehicle code section changed, or they added a new vehicle code section to give 3 feet for safety in the state of California for bicyclists on roadways. So anytime you're passing a cyclist, it's a very not well-written law, but it is a hard law to enforce. You have to basically come upon it as a law enforcement officer and see cars. But yeah, you're required now 3 feet, and that's why Steve put the 3 feet there. It specifically states 3 feet on there. Yeah.
Thank you for the clarification.
So if I might, this sign is actually in the California Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. It's an approved sign.
And is that 3 feet all the way around, like because you're passing, stay, like when you're passing, like as you go in front of him and behind, you need to stay 3 feet all the way around as you're passing?
Well, I would defer to Deputy Bilodeau, but my interpretation is if you have a cyclist and you're going to be passing on the left, that you would give 3 feet to the left from the rightmost side of your car,
Right.
3 feet space to the cyclist. That's the way I interpret it, but I'm not an attorney, so.
Is it also like, okay, so for instance, you're coming up on the cyclist, you should stay 3 feet away, obviously, right? And then you start passing, like he said, in like horizontal 3 feet. And then as you get in front, you should at least be 3 feet ahead. Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure, that it's the whole time 3 feet, not just on the side. Yeah, that's what I figured, common sense, but yeah.
And it's a very, very good question, because the last cyclist that was killed in Placer County, which was a month ago, in front of Ophir Elementary, it was actually a passing, so the 3 feet was met, but it was not met as the motorist came back over and hit the cyclist from the rear of their vehicle in the front of the bicycle.
Oh my
So
goodness.
it's an excellent question. You think, oh, how did that happen? It happens. That's when it knocked over the cyclist and then ran over the cyclist. So yeah.
Well, thank you for saying that's an excellent question. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
no, excellent. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you. Anybody else in the audience have any, come on, Ann or Russ? Oh.
For those of you that don't know, I am a cyclist also. This morning, at about 9 o'clock,
You've already had done your 3 minutes. You've
I've
already
already
done,
done my-
you already came up here and commented on the mortar, so you've already had your public comment.
I thought that 3 minutes was per item.
No, we are still on the section of the agenda where we're talking on items that are not on the agenda. And you're allowed 1 period during that to have your opportunity to talk.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Okay, Jan's gonna come up.
Jan Clark Kretz, Wishing Well Way, Loomis. Definitely, think that since this law has been enacted, the town needs to put these signs up to help, to help with this issue. So it would be nice to see the council maybe ask for our newest engineer to maybe put that out as a item that we could put out and get these up right away. So Russ and I have a business on Barton Road. Russ lives on Barton Road. And Laird Road, everything is so dangerous in our area. These are rural roads that now are heavily trafficked. And we have so many bicyclists out there. Hopefully someday we might be able to get bike lanes out there, which would be great. But in the meantime, it is super dangerous, and people are texting and driving, and these poor bicyclists don't have a chance. Anyway, so I think you were going to say that. Hopefully it's just very, very dangerous. And I hope to see you guys get those signs put up. Thanks.
Thank you. So can we get on that? Yeah. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Ann?
Ann Baker. First of all, thank you for your service on the council here, and also thank you for unanimously voting to place the quarter-cent general sales tax continuation measure on the November 2024 ballot so voters can voice their opinion on continuing this vital funding source of our very successful Loomis Library and Community Learning Center. I am happy to report that we are now the advocacy group Yes for Measure C, continue library funding. Since becoming Yes for Measure C, I'm touched and amazed at the citizens who are stepping up to help the community by sharing their time and talents to help the campaign. During these hot summer days, we're working on growing our volunteer base, preparing educational materials, and fundraising. We are doing outreach into the neighborhoods to find all those library-loving volunteers. There seem to be a lot, but we want to include everybody. So any help we can get with outreach, we will accept it, and we would love it. The bigger group, the better. I also want to thank Amy for her very clear financial representation of the 24-25 budget. It was really helpful. I think it also really motivates our committee to see the impact that this funding source is making in the upcoming budget and what it's made over the last 8 years as it's grown to really provide great services for the Loomis residents. So thank you. Our website is yesformeasurec.com. Come visit. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else in the audience? Okay.
I'm Ethan Britzy. I live on Bethel Court. And Madam Mayor and Town Council members, esteemed staff, thank you so much for your work. Amy, I would have butchered your name, so thank you for leading the way with that. But I just wanted to echo that that 141-page document that I nerd out on that I'm sure other people don't. But I really appreciated the level of detail that went into that financial report and also the plan for the budget. And I love the conservative approach to finances for so many different moving parts. So thank you for that. I do have some questions, so hopefully I can take those to you of, hey, for a clarity of different components within that. But overall, that's a daunting task, and thank you for putting that together. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience before we go to Zoom? Last call? Okay. Anybody on Zoom?
Yes. Okay, Sherry, go ahead. Sherry, go ahead.
I had a question about a butcher shop going in next to Red's downtown. I heard a rumor. I was just curious.
I heard the same, but I can't confirm that.
Can you confirm the school district's going in on Del? I see the for sale sign up still. It's brand new out there again.
So that question probably would be best posed to the school district as what their future plans are. It's not related specifically to the town. I can tell you we don't have any current applications for land development from the school district at this time.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else on Zoom? Yes. Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Miguel.
Miguel, are you there?
Miguel, are you there?
Hello?
Yeah, we can
Hi.
hear you now.
Oh, okay. Miguel Yuzovich, 5911 Craig Court, Loomis. When you had the budget hearing, it was kind of garbled, but the finance director did say that a consultant said you could take the park money, the acquisition money, and the construction money and lump them into one account. And I question this, and I've always asked this question and have not been able to get an answer. There's a law that was passed many years ago by the state of California called the Quimby Act. And my question is, does Loomis have to follow the Quimby Act or not? Thank you.
So Miguel, I think we could set up an appointment for you to meet with myself and the finance director to kind of go over some of the questions you may have. At this time, this is just public comment, and the dialogue back and forth for questions should be limited.
Anybody else on Zoom? Okay, so then we'll bring it back. So now we have opportunity to comment on the consent calendar. Does anybody have any items that they would like to pull, or does anybody want to move to approve the consent calendar at this time?
I'm just going to go ahead and speak.
Okay.
Just the fact that we did receive 2 comments on one item on the agenda. Both of you, all of you guys have a copy of the letter from Sonia and from Cheryl Benson in regards to the proclamation. At this point in time, it's not something that I'm going to read, but if either one of you are online and you want to read your comments, but otherwise the council all have it and they will be included in the minutes of the meeting. Thank you.
Should we wait a few seconds to see if they want to chime in, or? Okay, well, I mean, because they're piece, All right, does anybody in the audience want to, come on up, Jean?
Item 5, I'd like to make a comment.
Okay. Yep, we're pulling item 5.
Anybody online? I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items 1 through 4.
I second.
Thank you.
I second.
Councilmember Nisley?
Yes.
Councilmember Cortez?
Aye.
Councilmember Cartwright?
Aye.
Mayor Youngblood?
Aye. So at this time, we want to start with the public comment, have Jean come up and go ahead.
Jean Wilson, 4301 Barton Road. Item 5 is a resolution commending Mike Lee for the many, many years of service, and it lists in the resolution all kinds of contributions he's made in the county. And I'm not sure that one that particularly pertained to Loomis made it onto the list. And if any of you have stopped and looked at the plaque on the boulder in front of the library, the supervisor at the time that that building was made in Loomis for the library was Mike Lee, who pushed really hard to get Loomis as a site to build the library. So I want to make sure that he is remembered for that, not just all the many other things that are on this list. And I would say he was raised right, because his mother, Hazel Lee, was one of the founding members of the Loomis Friends of the Library way back when the library was meeting in various storefronts around town. So Hazel was honored by the Friends not too long ago as one of the founding members. And we were fortunate that when we came away from the county, we had our own Friends organization already set up. We weren't part of that one. So I just wanted to add to the list of good things that Mike has done over the years, that he was instrumental in getting us a library in Loomis, and we need to be grateful that we have the library in part because of his work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the public before we go to Zoom? Okay, then anybody on Zoom?
I don't think so. I'm just doing a quick double check.
Okay. We'll pause a couple seconds. If not, we'll go back to the council for comments or... Okay, so it looks like nobody's there. Does anybody in the council have any comments or concerns?
Would we be able to make any amendments that add that wording?
Absolutely, it's at council's discretion.
Can we bring it back, or we just do that at this point?
I think you can either way, but you could give direction to, what it is that you want recognized. It can be added before the mayor signs the resolution, or you can have the language brought back, either way.
I agree with Gene that that is an accomplishment that is worthy of recognition and warrants it. So can we add that in a tasteful way and then have the mayor sign it?
Absolutely.
Okay, so then I move to approve item 5
Okay.
with that addition.
I second.
Go ahead. Well, should we do this one first and then? Yeah, so let's take a vote first and we'll come back to you for the second part. We'll do
But he's
line by
making
line.
a motion to approve the whole.
No, just the addition, right?
Okay.
Am I correct that that's all you guys made the motion
My
about?
motion is to approve item 5 with the addition.
Oh.
And that's so that it expedites your signing because it requires your signature.
Right.
So
So-
it's the motion as written now, but with the addition of that addition that Gene brought up.
Yeah.
And so,
So, do you have anything, do you have anything that differs from that?
No.
Okay. All right, so go ahead.
Councilmember Cartwright?
aye.
Councilmember Cortez?
Aye.
Councilmember Nicely?
Yes.
Mayor Youngblood?
Aye. So that would, at that point, then, did you want to bring up any of your?
I'm good.
Okay, okay. So then at this point, does anybody want to make a motion to, well, we just approved, that works, yeah. That was, yeah. I got distracted by the point that we added that in. So, okay, so then we will move on to business, presentation of county mosquito vector. Russ? Oh,
Yeah, Madam Mayor, we have with us tonight the Mosquito Vector District that is here to present an update on the mosquito vector. Also, the council's appointed the member to the board, Russ Kelly's in the audiences as well too, and it's wanted to note that.
All right, hello, I'm Jake Hart. I'm the Assistant Manager of Plaster Mosquito and Vector Control District, and I'd like to also acknowledge Russ Stocker for all of his hard work on the Board of Trustees. Thank you, Russ. Next. So this is our annual update. Our district is, our mission is really to take care of vector and vector-borne diseases, which mostly includes mosquitoes, ticks, Lyme disease, is what we're monitoring, and public safety with vector-borne diseases. So we are a special district. We have a board member, a 7-member of trustees. We have 25 full-time staff, and then we also hire additional seasonals and interns and other employees. So we break down Placer County into 3 different areas based on Eastern Placer, which covers yellow jackets, mosquitoes, and rodents. We work with CDPH sometimes for rodents, for hantavirus and other different diseases spread through those. We also will work with yellow jackets to knock down their nests because they are a large nuisance for people. And then mid-placer, which includes, can affect some of Loomis too, but we mostly focus on mosquitoes, nuisance mosquitoes. There's some West Nile that develops in the middle placer, and then we also focus on ticks in this area, Lyme disease, where we collect ticks and test them. And then a lot of our work is in West Placer, where we're dealing with mosquitoes and directly West Nile virus, which is a vector-borne disease. Thank you. So how do we combat all these different things? We do surveillance. We also do chemical control, where we're out in the field knocking down these pests with chemicals. We do biological and physical control. Biological or mosquito fish, physical control or just removing the sources that breed these mosquitoes or other habitats that these vectors are being born from. We also do a lot of community outreach, and we are big into technology and innovation. We currently have a drone program that is one of the most advanced here in mosquito control. We've been working on it for several years, but we use drones from very small all the way to bigger than 6 feet in width overall. We do surveillance and applications with these drones, along with other AI learning technologies for IDing mosquitoes. So we definitely use a lot of innovation. And we also use applied research. We have 2 senior research scientists on staff, and we're making sure that we're using science-based decisions when we are making decisions about what we're doing in the field. So one of the best ways to get a hold of us here, if you are in Loomis or if you are a resident, is a public service request. This is, you can go on our website, you can report a problem to us. We have 2 technicians that will work in the town of Loomis. We have Derek and Steve. They're both highly qualified technicians, but they will answer them service requests, come on site or give a call and see what's appropriate. A lot of the service requests we receive are for mosquitoes, for standing water in the area, especially here in Loomis. There's a lot of low areas that collect water in the spring. We also have a lot of tree hole mosquitoes in this area, so these old oaks that are surrounding will collect mosquitoes in there, and the technician can come out and help treat those. There's also a lot of horse troughs in the area that we can help come and treat. So that's specifically here in Loomis. So if you have any of those, please feel free to either give us a call or, more successful, log on to our website and submit a service request so we can come and help you. Next. Mosquito fish, we breed our own mosquito fish in Roseville. These are the fish when we are doing applications. We actually take those fish into those ponds in those low areas and those horse troughs, and we'll put fish right into those horse troughs so they will eat the mosquitoes as they're breeding. And they don't bother the horses. We also will apply them into green pools. So if there's green pools, we'll put those fish in there. And that helps us and it helps you at the same time, where we're just putting those fish. And then each spring, you can make a new request for mosquito fish, and our technician will come out and see if it's the appropriate treatment for that request. So like I said, West Nile virus is kind of our bread and butter. We've been monitoring West Nile virus for several years now. A lot of that work is done in the rice fields in West Roseville. We monitor those, we do aerial applications to those rice fields, and we trap the mosquitoes, and then we test them for West Nile virus. But West Nile virus in particular is rotated through birds, mostly corvids, to the mosquitoes, and then they cycle back into the birds. But it's one of those that mosquito gets the West Nile from the bird and then bites a human afterwards is when we start seeing that disease spread through humans. Nice. Next. So this is just a quick map of Placer County. You can see all the colored dots. This is our surveillance. This is where we have traps. This is where we are collecting mosquitoes throughout the year, taking those mosquitoes back to our lab, and sorting out the species that can spread the disease, and then testing those for West Nile in particular. So we have a lot of traps that we use to base this information on. You can go next. To help us build data-driven decisions. So not only are we monitoring species of mosquitoes, which I think in Placer County there's roughly 32 in that area, in California 170, the US 300, but there's thousands throughout the world. So there's all different kinds of mosquitoes, and not all of them carry disease. So we monitor the type of species, the abundance of each of those species. Then we also monitor the weather, and then finally the disease. And we take all that data, and that helps drive our decisions to help combat West Nile at the local and county level. One of the newer issues that we've seen is we've been talking West Nile. Now we're going to move to a different type of species, is an invasive Aedes aegypti. This is a species that instead of breeding out in the rural areas or in catch basins, this one's breeding in your backyard. This can breed in just a cap full of water. So any one of your water bottles laying upside down collecting water, this mosquito can deposit eggs in there. And they actually prefer humans. They are going to be the mosquito that's going to attack you during the middle of the day. They're going to come out in your yard. They're opportunists. So if you're just working in your yard, they're going to come out and find you. So these mosquitoes, currently, there's no disease, dengue, chikungunya, are in Placer County, but they have the potential of spreading those diseases. So we are currently doing all we can to knock these species down and keep them from spreading.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you can see right now, this is where these species are currently focused. Mostly in Roseville. We have one mosquito in Rockland, but these neighborhoods in Roseville are just from 2019. We had one neighborhood, and then 2022, 23, 24, and we slowly continue to see these species expanding. Now, these areas seem very small in the grand scheme of things, but a lot of effort and work goes into these because this is an urban mosquito. We go door to door, we inspect people's backyards, we provide them information, and we help educate the public along with making those treatments to knock these populations down. So this is just one of the mosquitoes that you should be looking out here for here in Loomis also. Next, please. So not only dumping and draining and getting rid of the water, how do you protect yourself? Obviously, get rid of all the water on your property that you can. If you can't, have us come and treat it or put mosquito fish in it to help knock down the mosquito populations. Also use a US EPA registered repellent, so such as DEET or picaridin, when you're out and about, especially in the evenings or during the high time influx of mosquitoes. Make sure you have screens on your doors, you're not leaving your doors open, which prevents those mosquitoes from entering the house and biting you in the evening. And then obviously contact us and we are more than happy to help out. We also monitor dead birds as part of the West Nile cycle. So if you find any dead birds, especially corvids, please report those to us. We'll take those back to their lab. We'll extract part of the brain or a different piece of that and test that for West Nile to see if we can help monitor West Nile. Ticks, we also walk trails here in the area and up the hill. We monitor ticks, we collect them, and then we test them for Lyme disease also. So here in Loomis, in March, we had a school assembly. Here's a picture of one of our events at H. Clark Powers Elementary School. So it's a great event. We're here to educate the kids. We have hired actors that are sending our message specifically to these grade school kids, and it's very well received. We also have go to the Loomis Library where we have a bug bonanza. This is the opportunity where kids get to see and work with cockroaches and walking sticks, all these cool insects that kids love. You may not, but super cool insects. And it just introduces them to insects and how some insects can be very cool, others can be harmful. And then we'll also be at the Fruit and Shed Festival in October. So please feel free, all the treatments I talked about, aerial treatments, you can receive notifications. Go to our website, sign up for the treatments. You'll get all the notifications in your email. You can also put the service requests and find any West Nile or further information on anything I discussed today on our website. Next, please. So this is our wonderful staff. I want to thank all of them. They put a lot of hard work, especially this past week in the heat. They're out there working every day, knocking down these mosquito populations and trying to keep West Nile at bay. And thank you. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
I do.
Yeah.
I have a silly one. So speaking of bugs, does a mosquito eater really eat mosquitoes?
No, they do not. So those are crane flies.
I
Good
didn't
question. But this is a great question we get all
I
the time.
didn't think so, but I
Yeah.
just wanted to. Anyway, thank you for keeping us safe. I appreciate that.
No problem.
So what
Thank
do
you.
they eat?
Crane flies, they eat a lot of nectar and other various
I mean, like
things.
if they're in our house, like obviously they're not. I guess the urban legend is that they're not helping us. We should probably just.
Well, the crane flies, I mean, they're harmless. You can just
Okay.
take them and let them back
Okay.
out. They're not biting. They're not biting humans. They're, feeding off the nectar and other things.
Yes, mosquito hawks. Yes.
Yes.
You talked about draining water sources on your property. I have a fountain in the backyard. Is that a problem that we keep the water running? Should that be treated?
So the question is, if there's a fountain on your property and should it be treated? If you have movement in that water and that fountain is working properly, you should not need to treat it. As soon as it goes stagnant and starts to sit, at that point in time, you should let us know. We can come and look at it. We can make applications to it and give you analysis at that point. But basically, stagnant water is one of the main issues. Good question.
I have one for you, sir. First of all, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Informative. Now, the last time a member of your board came and gave a presentation, one of the pathogens discussed was the Zika virus, and I understand that it's from South America, maybe, or
Yes.
Central South America. And now you mentioned that the source of the West Nile virus being the COVIDs, crows, ravens, anyone in the COVID family, and the mosquito being the vector, right?
Yeah.
So my question is this. I posed the question because I didn't know much about the Zika virus other than the sensationalism on the news at the time. And my question was, well, what is the source? And the representative at that time said it's infected people who were traveling from that area of the world to here, and then the mosquito biting that person and spreading it that way. So such as the COVID is the source for West Nile, Corvid, yeah. The crows, ravens, and whatnot. What is the animal source, or if there's an animal source for the Zika? Do you know?
That's a good question. It probably originally came from an animal. I should know this question, but I don't know if it's exactly known what animal spread it to humans, but the dengue and chikungunya and the Zika virus are all spread through humans themselves. So we are the carriers of those diseases. The mosquitoes will come and bite us, and then directly they would bite me. Within a couple of days, it would go through that mosquito, and then at that point in time, it would have enough viremia in it of that disease to be able to pass it on to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
So.
Thank you for asking that.
Yeah. So currently, it's not spreading through any other animals. Humans are the main person. So.
Yeah. Thank you for
All right.
coming.
Thank you so much.
Very informative and yeah. So item 7, presentation by, you, Michelle. Come on down.
Madam Mayor, I just wanted to point out how timely this agenda item is because one of the council's goals that were set was to look at doing a municipal service review for Loomis, to my knowledge, has never been done.
No.
And also look at the opportunity for sphere of influence as well too. So I think Michelle's going to cover this topic very well for us tonight.
Yes, and hi everyone. Nice to meet some of you. Most of you I've met a few times now, and this is my second time presenting to your city council, or town council. But I wanted to give a brief overview of LAFCO, just because before I get into the service reviews and sphere of influence and annexations, that topic, which is really what I'm here for, but I wanted to give you a little bit of an overview about LAFCO for especially the members of the audience who's like, what is LAFCO? What does that even mean? What does that stand for? So my presentation first is the introduction, and I'll just, Carol, if you could advance. These are the questions that I receive most often. What is LAFCO? And so these are the things that I'll cover in my presentation. Who serves on LAFCO? What's our purpose, our jurisdictions, our powers, our planning and regulatory powers, which I will get into heavily because that's annexations and service reviews and sphere of updates, which is the why you asked me to come. And then, you know, what's the usual city annexation process, the usual service review, and things like that. And then finally, not just with your town, but you also have some of the special districts, the South Placer Fire Protection District, the South Placer Municipal Utility District, and they're ongoing and new projects that are coming to LAFCO that have direct effect on your town. So next slide. So you'll hear me talk a little bit about our planning and regulatory responsibilities. That's why it's underlined. Again, planning related to studies like service reviews and sphere of influence studies. And I'll talk a little bit, or not a little bit, but a lot about what that entails. And then you'll hear me talk about LAFCO law and where that is in the, and that's the second bullet there. It's the section of the government code and state law that gives LAFCO its power and authorities. So refer to it as LAFCO law or CKH, but that's where that comes from. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the representation on LAFCO, it's really to have a broad representation. And so the idea is that when a commissioner, a LAFCO commissioner, sits on LAFCO, they represent the entire county, unincorporated, incorporated. But they come to LAFCO with the expertise of sitting on a city council, a town council, the board of supervisors, a special district, etc., and then of course the public. So yes, they are appointed by different appointing authorities, but when they sit on LAFCO, they represent everyone. So I like to make that point. So even though you do have Jenny on the LAFCO commission, all of LAFCO represents you, the entire commission. And everyone else in Placer County. Okay, and next slide, please. So what is the purpose of LAFCO? Really, it's dictated by state law. Logical and orderly growth and development of cities, towns, and special districts. We discourage urban sprawl, so efficient extension of services, right? It's more efficient to extend services to the adjacent areas as opposed to leapfrog annexations, right, and the cost and inefficiencies that entails. Also, we're charged with protecting prime ag land, which there are some areas still around Loomis that have the prime ag land definition, which is different than the CEQA definition that most cities are familiar with. Ours is just more stringent. So you'll see that discussion as we go forward with your service review and your sphere. It's just we look at that a little bit differently than normal. And then again, promoting efficient extension of services, right? Not the leapfrogging development that you may see or that you used to see, especially before LAFCOs were created. So what are our jurisdictions? So I mentioned the cities, the special districts, and then we also have dependent districts here in Placer County, which wasn't always known, but it will be now. So there are dependent districts that overlay both your city and then that are adjacent to your city. For example, the county service area, CSA 28, which is one of our new districts, new in quotes because it's existed since 1983, but we just found out about it. And so what isn't under LAFCO, school districts, Melrose, CF, community facilities districts, which is under your jurisdiction or the county, those agencies with land use authorities. Next slide. So again, these are most of LAFCO's powers. I didn't include them all in the slide, but what I'm going to focus on are really 3 and then a little bit about service agreements as it relates to sphere of influence. But it's the city annexations, the municipal service reviews, the sphere of influence, and then related to that is the out-of-area service agreements. And I'm going to talk about why, part of the reason why having a sphere is important. Okay, next slide. So we've already talked about this, preparing studies, so I'll just go on to the next slide. Those are the planning functions, right? And then our regulatory functions, which is the annexations, creating new agencies, consolidations. You will see a lot on this summer and this fall, several reorganizations first one tomorrow. We have the North Tahoe, Meeks Bay reorganization, and so there's going to be a lot more of that in the upcoming weeks and months. So I wanted to include that on the slide. Again, we are not a land use authority, or we do not have land use authority, but we do influence land use in that we control the timing of when an annexation can occur and where an annexation can occur, right, through your sphere and through the annexation process. Next slide. Okay, so the basic annexation process. So this is, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but it starts with a service review or a special study before we get to the sphere of influence, and then the annexation, which goes to LAFCO, and there is a protest provision and election if there is not 100% consent from the affected landowners or the registered voters. And most of the time, that's just not the case. Unless it's one single ownership, there's usually going to be a protest hearing and sometimes maybe an election. Again, not going to focus too much on that, but I do want to talk about the service reviews. Next slide. So there's, I pointed this out because you're going to see some of this, maybe not directly with Loomis, but especially maybe your fire district. So the sphere of influence study, right, which will be directly with Loomis. Any boundary changes, you will see that with the fire protection district. I can talk a little bit more about that, but that directly affects your city. And then service extensions. That's, the purpose of having a service review, so we can extend services, whether it's through annexation or a contract. And then also governance changes. We can, for example, if we're consolidating 2 agencies to fire districts, I'll just use those as an example, since that's what we see a lot here in Placer County. We can take an elected board and make them into an appointed board. That's one governance change. Also changing the makeup, the size of the board. So we look at it in different ways. We look at it agency specific with your city or with your town. It will be agency specific, but we also look at it on a region-wide basis, and we can also do on a type of service, right? So if we had multiple vector control districts, we can study all the vector control districts at one time. Next slide, please. And it's really what we're looking for is opportunities to enhance services and promote efficiencies. So here's where I'm going to focus on. I'm going to live here for a minute. So the commission is required to examine these 7 factors. And the first 6 factors are very specific, but then the 7th factor is my favorite. And the reason why is that it allows LAFCO and the agency that we're working with, whether it's a city, a town, a special district, to tell us what do you need, what specifically is your need locally, and then we can tailor our study to match your needs. And I love it when special districts and cities take advantage of that, right? Your fire district, for example, needed a master plan. And so we included that as part of this requirement under 7. But the other, so when I talk to your staff and start thinking about, as we discuss the scope of the study, start thinking about what does our town need that maybe LAFCO could include in its study to help with services, promote efficient services, et cetera. So just really quick, so we look at the growth and the population projections. So that this is for specific to your town, but when you do the service review, which you'll see later, we also look at growth and population projections related to your neighbors, to your cities that are next to you, that are developing, that have impact on your city, or the unincorporated areas, which and actually, I think Rockland too shares your sewer districts. So you need to look at the impacts from from the growth that they're experiencing, especially when you consider that some of the services that you're relying on or that your residents are relying on, like fire protection, sewer services, you're sharing with those, and it's limited resources. So that's one of the things that we consider, not just in your city, again, in your service review. So you'll see that repeated in the sphere. The location of disadvantaged unincorporated communities, I didn't see that around Loomis, but it's really to make sure that the historically underserved areas are receiving basic needs, clean water, sewer connections, structural fire. That's what it's geared for. I know there's, not here, but there are some areas in Placer counties that are considered disadvantaged. So we look at that, the present and planned capacity of your facilities, whatever those may be. It's very open-ended because each city, right? For example, if you take a look at someone like Roseville and all of the public facilities and services they need, or that they provide, is much different than what the town of Loomis. So, it's tailored specific to your needs. And then the financial ability to provide services now and into the future. And then your accountability to the community. Are you in compliance with the Brown Act? Do you post your budget? Things of that, because really part of what we look at is transparency. So, next slide, please. And it's really not the cities that have, we have 37 special districts. Some of those districts do not have staff. For example, they have part-time, and so that's why it's on there. It's really to help our smaller agencies. Again, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the sphere and influence and what it is before I talk about the determinations that LAFCO is required to make. So first, so the city or the town's sphere of influence is the same as the town boundary. It's what we call coterminous. What that means, or what having a sphere that is larger than the town or city limits, what that means is that these are the areas that you could probably provide services to, but it does not guarantee that you will annex those areas. In fact, there's no right that says, well, LAFCO, you designated this our sphere, so now we're here and we have a right to do the annexation. No, you still have to go through the process. It still has to make sense, the proposal. So it's not a guarantee. There's some other things here that that LAFCO is required to do, and part of the reason why we're doing this study is we are required to adopt a sphere of influence for every city and every special district. As Wes mentioned, we have not done that, and those have been long overdue. So for a sphere of influence, actually that dates back to the early 70s, 1980-ish, that requirement, which you weren't a town yet, but all along, you should have, or LAFCO should have been establishing, updating, reviewing your sphere, even if it's no change, everything looks good. At least we should be reviewing it. And then for service reviews, those came about in 2000. State law allowed LAFCOs to have first 5 years, and then they gave us an extension. They were due January 1st, 2008, and it's 2024, and we don't have one for your town. Oh. So long overdue. And unfortunately, you are not in a boat by yourself in Placer County. Many of our special districts and cities do not have one at all. Or if they do, they're severely outdated. So again, before we can do the sphere, we have to start with your service review, and then next slide, please. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things that about the sphere. So the affected city, that's you. The affected local agencies, right? So that could be the county, your neighboring agencies, the special districts which you share with some of the other jurisdictions, and then. And I'll tell you why that's important here in a second. So if you advance, sorry, Carol, can you advance to the next slide? So why is that important? There's a couple of reasons. So I'll talk a little bit about, like in the general sense, and then specific to Loomis. So in the general sense, what it does is being an affected agency, an affected town, that in the CEQA process, in the public comment, during the public comment period, we can help as LAFCO when you are commenting on a general plan for a neighboring agency. That development is going to have direct impacts to our town. Yes, it's under your jurisdiction, but we are going to feel those impacts, and we will have to help mitigate those impacts, traffic, whatever it may be. So as an affected agency and having that designation and having those areas in your sphere, we can help you with that process. And at least have another voice at the table. Hey, LAFCO, this is our sphere, and we have this other jurisdiction putting high density, whatever the case will be, and we have limited resources, and now we're having to have our fire district respond to that, or sewer services. There's direct impacts, and traffic, et cetera, things of that nature. And then the other, I do know that you have some rural residential areas around your town. Having a sphere of influence, even if you include those areas, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to annex them. But it does allow, for example, I just received a phone call a couple of hours ago where I have a resident whose property is within 200 feet from a city limit, and they cannot develop because they need access to the city's sewer system, right? And they can't so there's only two options because, right, there's the doing an out-of-area service agreement, which is a contract, which you can do if that is in your sphere in anticipation of an annexation, or you can do an annexation. So it allows you for those, and if there's an emergency situation, it allows you to extend services. Again, they would have to enter into agreement with the city, but you could contract for those services as opposed to a full-blown annexation. Okay, and then I think my next slide, I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the projects that will have a direct impact on you. Again, the South Placer Fire Protection District tomorrow, I'm going to plug this in for our LAFCO meeting. We have the South Placer Fire District presentation of their master plan. And the reason why I'm bringing it to LAFCO now ahead of the service review is because we have so a little bit about the history of that district. There was a consolidation with Loomis and Granite Bay back in 2017. And as you know, the ambulance service wasn't extended to Loomis. You have different TRAs, different assessments, et cetera. And so that was a project that just was not well done. It just wasn't, you know, the fiscal analysis, the service analysis was not completed. And so I wanted to compare and contrast with the current project we have with North Tahoe, where we are extending all the services, not just to the Placer County, but El Dorado County, extending ambulance services, extending the assessments and the parcel taxes so that everyone pays the same, and then having the TRAs, the ad valorem, the 1%. So currently on our side of the border, we're getting about 11% of the 1% for that district. On the Meeks Bay side, which is the El Dorado side, they have 2 to 3%. Gosh, sounds an awful lot like your town, and Granite Bay. And so with this reorganization, we're bringing up the TRAs to be 11%. And, you know, so those are the negotiations that happen between the two counties and our LAFCO and then the two districts. So again, I wanted to do a compare and contrast to reopen up that process so that hopefully we can clean up some of the boundary and service issues for your fire district. And then, of course, again, the South Placer MUD, we did extend the contract, but that study, I think the kickoff meeting is in a week and a half. So that will be coming. And then, of course, your service review, which I would love to start sooner rather than later, because we have, you know, other jurisdictions that are also interested. So, but you never had one, so. That's right. If you have any questions for me, I know I talk fast, but please let me know. And again, I will keep in touch, especially with your staff.
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you. That was an excellent report and overview. And I'm appreciative of that simply because you brought clarity to what has been some misinformation. We have a resident who has been propagating misinformation for years about the use of sphere of influence. And the notion was that it could be used to lock up land on your perimeter to prevent neighboring jurisdictions from developing. And so he was propagating the notion that by use of sphere of influence that you could create a protective donut around your municipality, and which is absolutely false. So
right, you know, those are like green belts. Those are green belt authorities, which isn't under LAFCO's purview. But certainly, a lot of cities have urban limit line, urban growth boundaries, and then they have a green belt, which they've entered into an agreement with other jurisdictions, other cities in the county, and again, outside of LAFCO's purview.
All right. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I just want to thank you. I've learned so much about LAFCO that I didn't already know, and there's so much probably more to learn and how it totally affects Loomis, because I think every issue we have coming up, I realized during this presentation, has to do with LAFCO. It's very interesting, and we look forward to working with you, and I want to also commend you. The whole time that train was coming through, you just kept going. A lot of times I just want you to know, we actually say, do you want to stop and wait? And you just kept going, and you had such a great attitude about it, so thank you. And
Oh, you're welcome.
we look forward to working with you in the future, and please definitely get that going with her, Wes.
And again, we have South Placer Chief Dewar. I know he's on vacation, but he's coming to the LAFCO meeting, and we have the consultants talking about the master plan, talking about how South Placer has a 3-station deficit. Currently, there's 2 stations closed, but in reality, it's a 3-station deficit. And what are things that we could do as LAFCO to help put the district in a better financial position? So, so please come, or at least zoom in if you're available.
I also just want to say thank you that you do an amazing job explaining, and you've come out not only to the council meetings twice, also to the leadership Loomis to explain that, and I just want to say thank you, Michelle.
Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah, let me know if you want me back.
Absolutely.
So thanks.
Oh yeah, public comment for LAFCO. Anybody want to come up and have public comment on that? And I want to apologize too, because technically I guess there was public comment on mosquito vector, and I didn't ask for that as well. So I don't know if I'm allowed to go back and allow them that, or just apologize.
There was nobody.
Okay, was there anybody who, before we move on with LAFCO's public comment, was there anybody, again, I apologize, I just now realized that wanted to speak on behalf of that, or have any questions? Okay, anybody on Zoom? Okay, so then now I'm going to open up the public comment for this, for LAFCO. Does anybody in the audience have public comment? Anybody on Zoom? Council?
No, nobody on Zoom.
Okay. So then it looks like we have recommended action. And I think that's basically what, we reviewed it, she's offering it, let's move forward with it. We'll move on to the next one, which is the last item, correct? Okay. So item 8, process for appointment of town clerk. I believe Wes and Jeff, that is you guys.
We thumb wrestled for it. I
Okay.
won, so I get to make the presentation on this. So you'll recall recently there was an election in Loomis at which the voters agreed that it was appropriate for the position of town clerk to become an appointed position rather than an elected position. You may recall that when we put this to you, we mentioned the fact that there would be a decision point for the council whether they wanted to have that appointment be made by the council or by the town manager. Subsequently, we've looked back at the ordinances that exist in the town, and I'm comfortable that right now, if you do nothing, the town clerk position will be appointed by the manager. The reason for that is because in the duties that you've identified that the council approved for the manager, they include appointment of subordinate officers and employees. Town clerk is considered an officer position, but because it's no longer an elected position, it would fall under the town manager's authority to make the appointment. Council has a decision to make. If you don't want that to be the case, if the council wants to reserve the right to appoint the clerk, then we can come back to you with a change in the ordinance. Plenty of time. This will all go into effect once the current town clerk's term expires at the end of November, essentially beginning of December. So we have plenty of time to act if you want to do that. But the point of this one is just to tell you that you're at that decision point and open it up for your discussion.
Jenny, do you want to go first? Because I obviously, no? Oh, okay. Do you guys want to go first?
I should reserve my comments.
Okay. In doing so, I just want to mention a couple things, and hopefully you're, you kind of agree with this. Just something that I thought about. Whomever we select, I just want to say that it's probably prudent not to release positions until the consultant that you're having come thoroughly analyzes the scope in the town staff, and then at that time we'll make a recommendation back to you. Just wanted to mention that, and what I mean by that is because you're gonna, if it's gonna be Wes who's gonna appoint, as it says in the actual part here, I think it's the third paragraph, where you outline that, where he has the power to appoint, demote, fire, all that. I just want to make a statement that should any person, and I'm just going to leave it at that, in the town staff want to, because if you're going to appoint, if you're going to interview, what have you, however you do that, I just want to make certain that nobody's position is taken away because of this position until the consultant is able to thoroughly review everybody in the town staff and make sure that all those duties can be reapplied, so to speak. Am I on the same page? I mean, because I don't want to elaborate too much and say too much that's going to create any...
So, Madam Mayor, council, as part of your goals and objectives, has provided direction to staff to do an organization-wide assessment of the job duties, structure for each department, the individuals assigned to those job duties, their competency levels, which then identify levels of training that could bring people up to competency levels. So in that analysis, they'll take a broad look at everything and make recommendations on structure, what it should look like, whether positions should be added, removed. And then, of course, there's always the reality of it is because if we had an unlimited amount of money, then we could add as many positions as possible, but there will have to be a true up on what we can and can't afford to do as part of it. But as if I hear you correctly, is, you know, we shouldn't, because it's part of the process we have here is the clerk position becomes valid. The budget document, the policy decision that was made by council, that the deputy clerk position is funded for 6 months, and it sounds prudent from what I'm hearing from you, and I probably the rest of council, is to make sure that we don't release any positions until the consultant does a complete comprehensive analysis of the town staff and organization.
And I just want to add on one thing. I know that we discussed this, but I just want to make it perfectly clear how I feel about this, is that I feel like, for instance, and Carol is the deputy clerk. It should, and I'm hopeful that she will be appointed, but should there be a lot of people who apply and she's not the one, I would like to see that there are funds readily available to keep her position. That way, same thing if, like, let's say hypothetically Jordan was in that situation. I want it to be perfectly clear on record that this is how I feel, that I don't want anybody's position to go away. I want, even if we have to look for funding elsewhere in the budget to cover somebody's position, I don't think this is a good opportunity to take somebody's position away, should they not be appointed. I'm hopeful she is, but I just want to put that out there. So that everybody in the audience understands. If they don't understand what we're talking about, that's basically what I'm saying, is we're having a consultant. They're going to come and review everybody in the town staff, but I just wanted to specify that I'm hopeful that we can find funding to keep Carol's position if she's not the one that's appointed.
So the level, the staffing levels of the organization is a policy decision of council. You know, I think as we look through this comprehensive analysis of the organization, recommendations coming forward, and that's part of the direction we can receive back from council, if that's what council wishes to do, is to fund continued positions or whatever else. But I think it's prudent that we look at the analysis first to make sure that we're making decisions based on the organization moving forward. So it sets up the future success for the community. But yes, we would add that as part of the process.
Thank you,
look at
I
that.
appreciate that. Yeah. Does anybody else on the
I just have a question. Are we confident that we can get that analysis done? Yeah, thank you. That analysis done prior to the end of the elected position being funded?
It's going to be close because we are asking for a comprehensive analysis, so it will include look at the organization wide, look at the job descriptions, interviewing staff, all those things. So it's going to be challenging to get it done. Sorry, there's a huge echo on the back end of this. In that time frame, it may be closer to December or January potentially before we actually get that analysis back from the consultant on there. I am currently working on the RFP, I've got a good template. I borrowed from a neighbor jurisdiction. It's about 80% done. So I still have to put that out for solicitation, onboard the consultant. They need to do their work and analysis. So it's December, January is probably more realistic to get that done possibly.
Jenny, go ahead.
Well, I just think we need to put a rush on that. I think it needs to be done prior to December before. I think in the RFP, it needs to be said that we need it. I don't think it should go past the position.
And I just want to reiterate, like I said, not to sound like a broken wagon, I don't feel comfortable voting on anything, knowing that if potentially Carol isn't appointed to this position, that her position, and I'm just saying this and putting this out here, I know I said this before, but I just want to reiterate, I don't feel comfortable voting for this if there's a chance that Carol might lose her job over this. I'm sorry to say that, Carol, but I'm thinking about anybody who's in the town. If that happened to the town staff, I don't want anybody to lose their job over us. Basically, as I would say it with my current job, reclassing a position. We're reclassing her position, and she should, this is just my opinion, she should move along with the reclass, and if she doesn't, then we need to find another avenue, whether we create a position for her or we take funds from things that like travel for council members and things like that. I'm just saying, like, what's more important, us going to cap or keeping somebody who's doing an excellent job with the town? I mean, she gets CalPERS, she's been here for 15 years. We all have a daytime job. And I know if I was in her shoes, I don't know what I would do if I lost my job because we were reclassing her position and not taking her with that position to the new position that we're appointing. I'm just saying. I know that, I apologize, I just want to say that.
I think the issue before us tonight is not that.
I know, but I just want that to be added in because as Amanda said and Jenny said, we're going down to the wire. 6 months is as July 1st, and at the end of the year, and if the consultant drags their heels, she may be without a job while we're waiting to find out about the appointment.
Okay, so point taken. But the issue that is on the agenda, though, is whether to allow the council or to appoint the council. Appoint's not the right word. To give the council the authority to appoint the appointing authority for the position, or leave it as the municipal code has it right now with the town manager. So that's a valid concern, but that's not our issue at this point.
But I just want to make a point back, and I agree with you on that, but it sounds like hearing Jeff here, who made the opinion in the actual staff report, that while we technically have the ability to appoint her on our own, correct me if I'm mistaken, with your opinion in the staff report, you're basically giving us, or saying that technically we need to allow the town manager to make that appointment. So if that is how it's looking, you're presenting that to us, that it's actually technically his responsibility to do that. I just want that to be in the staff report as amended. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
But I appreciate you pointing that out to me.
Right,
But I'm inferring it that he's basically saying, technically, we are not in the correct jurisdiction to be appointing her. It should be the town manager.
Correct.
Yeah. But thank you, Danny. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I would characterize it a little differently. The position becomes an appointed position in December. Someone has to make an appointment. When we talked about this and put the item to the voters, we said we would come back to you for direction on whether it would be a council appointment or a manager appointment. Really, all we're saying in the staff report is, if you choose to do nothing, it will be a manager appointment. If you want it to be a council appointment, then give direction to staff and we can make a change to the ordinance. It has nothing to do really with what the authorized position list will be for the town. That's a related but separate question.
So basically what you're saying is if we leave it up to us, we can actually add that in ourselves and consider that?
Yeah, I mean, do you have a study that's going to be embarked on? There will be a conclusion from that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's prudent, and if council supports it, is that we do not release any positions or anything until the study's done, whether it's done, completed in October, November, December, or January. We continue the positions until we get the full comprehensive analysis that will come to council for discussion. At that point, we can make discussion or have discussion about what staffing levels and stuff that council would wish to appoint. But as tonight, as Jeff had pointed out, if council does nothing, the appointment of the town clerk would be under the manager's discretion.
Okay, so do we want to discuss that aspect of it?
I'd like to hear public comment.
Okay, why don't we, can we open it up to public comment right now, and then we'll deliberate, I used your word, deliberate, or deliberate, excuse me, but same thing. So I'm going to open up to public comment right now. You guys are welcome, if there's anybody in the audience who wants to talk about this issue, you're welcome to come up, and then we'll open up to Zoom.
Jean Wilson, and I'm a little bit confused because the way it's written in the agenda, item 8, says that the town council can directly appoint the town clerk or with an ordinance vested in the town manager, which seems the opposite of it goes to the town manager unless you have an ordinance. So which way is it?
Yeah, that I understand. The reason is because when you look at the ordinance that delegates authority to the town manager currently, the authority that was delegated by the council when they adopted this particular title, Chapter 2.12 of the Municipal Code, included the authority to appoint employees and officers who are not elected officers.
Okay.
And so when the position is no longer an elected position,
so
the
it
municipal
doesn't
code as written
need a new ordinance.
Correct.
Okay. So what I actually came to say was, in the long run, it probably isn't going to matter a whole lot how the person gets appointed, because either the council is going to appoint someone, probably with a lot of recommendation and influence of the town manager, or the town manager is going to weigh things and appoint a person. That being said, there were also a number of people that really liked having the idea of an elected person, and I think there were many valid reasons that it should be the appointed person for the job's sake. But in deference to people who like having a position like that with influence of your elected official input, I think it would please a lot of people, I think, to have the council be the one that actually does the official appointing, even if it is with basically the town manager's influence and recommendation. So that's just thinking of people like to have, feel like their representatives on the council are looking at things like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience want, Jan?
Thank you, Jan Clark-Kretz. Yeah, I agree with Jean, and I feel like since you're having somebody come in and check everything out, it would be pretty prudent for you to have that information, as a group to make a decision, because who knows what might flush out of that. I do have a question about the budget. Did we budget for having the analysis done, or is that in addition? Okay.
There is a budget item for this analysis.
Okay. And then basically, my next question is, say it's December and you do have the authority to appoint the town clerk's position. I just wanted to I think it would be something that people might want to hear exactly how that process will work. So if you could just please let us know, will Carol have to reapply, or how will that work? If you could just let us know. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Anybody else want to get up and speak from the audience? Okay. Is there anybody on Zoom?
Go ahead, Tim.
Hi there. I've heard a lot of discussion about this, and council, Madam Mayor. I really don't understand why the town clerk is regarded as something that needs to be appointed by the council. I mean, the council doesn't appoint the engineer. Council doesn't appoint any of the other positions other than the town manager. And I do think that at some point we need to rely on the town manager to run and manage their own employees. And I don't understand why it needs to be a political appointment, because that's essentially what that is. Any appointment made by the council is a decision. And, the town clerk is, is an administrative position. And it doesn't make any sense to me why we would want to make that a political position. So I do support the town giving that authority to the town manager. It just makes more sense than any other making that appointment for having that appointment be made by a political body just doesn't make any sense. Again, we don't do that for any other position other than the town manager. So the item is not about who is going to be appointed either. It's who has the authority to be appointed. So those are the comments I want to make. Appreciate your time.
And there's nobody else, right? Oh,
I'm going to check with Miguel. Miguel, you had your hand up. Did you want to say anything?
okay, nobody else? Okay. So then I guess we bring it back to the council. Do we want to discuss how we want to go about that?
Well, I just had something I wanted to say, and I was going to respond to comments from here in the audience, and then Tim kind of stole my thoughts. But basically what I was going to say is that it does matter whether whose authority it's under, because like he said, we don't appoint that for any other position, and there has to be a chain of command. So the body up here will change, will come and go, but hopefully we'll have stability on our staff. And so we want to be able to have one person managing the staff to keep a good flow of operating, business going. And so, like Danny was saying, like Tim was saying, the matter at hand is who has the appointing authority, it's the position and not the person. That's what we need to be focusing on. But it does very much matter on who has the authority, because we have to allow our manager that we hire to do a job to do his job. And this body has not the qualifications, nor do we have, well, I'll speak for myself, I don't have the time to be supervising staff. That's not our role. Our role is to make policy. Our role is to be the governing body. And we direct staff, which is we direct Wes, and then Wes directs the rest of the staff. That's how that works. So it absolutely does matter on how it is done. Go ahead.
I disagree with Jean and Jan Clark-Kretz in the fact that it doesn't matter who has the appointing authority. You see, we here as an elected body, we hire the town manager, and he is in charge of not only hiring his staff, but then administering his staff. If we were to take the authority upon ourselves to appoint the town clerk, then that town clerk is then answerable to us, just as Wes, our town manager, is answerable to us. His staff aren't answerable to us. His staff is answerable to Wes, only he is answerable to us. I am not looking forward, nor do I have the inclination to be a supervisor over a staff member. Then the unintended consequence, which no one has mentioned yet, would be this. If this body were to appoint itself as the authority to appoint this position, now that position has to be reworked, because as it is currently configured, that position has administrative duties that interface with the other staff. If that position is not accountable to a town manager, yet they are interfacing with the other staff, that creates a problem. So then, at that point, what you'd have to do is pare down the scope and responsibilities of that position to eliminate that interface so that there's a clear delineation between this new person that the council here supervises, in effect, and then the rest of the staff that the town manager supervises. Now, and then in making that clear delineation and separation of duties so that there's no intermixing, then you have to reevaluate the compensation, because if the scope of responsibilities are pared down such that how could you warrant or justify pay of X when the duties and responsibilities are much lower than that? So then that puts Carol, or whoever the appointed person is, in a position of, okay, their job gets pared down and also their salary gets pared down.
That's true.
So again, it does matter who appoints, and I am of the position that the municipal code is clear. The authority resides with the town manager, and I am not looking to change that.
Go ahead, Jenny.
Okay. I'm also in that same thought process.
Okay.
I agree. I kind of feel the staff report is accurate, and my only concern is where it says that the Loomis staff is small. The town clerk fills duties, just as you said, Danny, assigned the other duties assigned in the deputy town clerk job description, which is a modified town clerk position. In particular, the town clerk position is also administrative, just as you were saying. So I just feel that that needs to be very clear before the end of the year. That's all. Otherwise, I am in favor of it staying as presented by the staff, or prefer the way that the staff wrote their report.
Yeah, no, I agree that the whole assessment needs to be done. We gave staff direction. We made sure prior to the budget being finished that there was money allotted for that. We all felt like that was a very important thing, that all job details and descriptions were absolutely identified and rock solid. So, but regardless, here's my question. It's not like, it is still a law, right, that we have to have a clerk. So it's not like if this clock runs out before we get the assessment done, that we're just not going to have a clerk.
That's a good point, man.
It's not like she's just going to not have a job.
Continuation.
Yes, there'll be a continuation. It's like, right? So it's not like it's, okay.
Yeah. I think that's an excellent point. I will just mention this, that there are a lot of city councils that don't necessarily, and I think Wes brought this up to me, and I've heard it from a few other people in the community, don't necessarily have a town manager, but they have to have a clerk, and they have to have a town council, and I believe they have to have a treasurer. So that is a good point that you brought up, that we definitely, even if we haven't made a decision, I feel like Carol should be still assuming what she's doing now, even for cricket towards the end of the year. So that's one point I want to make. I will say I don't really, I mean, I don't want to say I don't care either way. I think that we all pretty much are level-headed. I think we want the best for the town. I would like to say that it sounds like there's already a majority that feels that we should give it back to the town manager, and the attorney has vetted it. All I want to say is that with that being said, and allowing, like Amanda said, that we need to allow the town manager to do what we've appointed him to do. I trust, and I'm putting this, I trust that you will make the right decision in your appointment. And all I ask is that and I'm hoping and I'm praying about this, and I don't want to say that word because I'm trying to be, not getting into being preachy, but I'm hoping that the decision will be that Carol is the one that's appointed, because I just want to say she's been here longer than most people on the town staff. She knows the ins and outs of the whole office. She has, that's her job, that's her livelihood. And if that is not the case, like I said before, I don't want to be a broken record, but please, I implore you, and I implore the whole staff to think about this, and the consultant, and hopefully they will, find a means to keep Carol on staff. You know, we need to find the funds to do that. So I will say I agree with all three of you, but this is a very sensitive decision. It's not to be taken lightly. And the point that Tim made is true. People come and go on the council. I don't want to see either where we have a group of people that aren't particular with a staff member, and they just put, oh, we don't like that person, we're going to bring in our friend. So from that standpoint, I do agree with what he had to say. We need somebody who's level-headed to go over this with a fine-tooth comb and make the right decision. So with that being said, if we don't have any more deliberation, I guess we will give the recommendation over back to the town staff to have the consultant thoroughly review the job description and the town staff and all that, so.
Timing-wise, I think from staff what we hear is that council does not wish to amend the Loomis Municipal Code, and so it will remain that the position will be under the guidance of the town manager on there. Next steps is, in the coming months, is we'll be bringing forward a job description for council to look at and approve, and a salary range, because that is a policy decision of the council to set those in there. So we'll be looking forward to that coming either in August or September, hopefully, to get that before you for your feedback.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think that's, yeah, I was just trying to kind of rest my brain on that, since that was a toughie, but I'm glad we got through it. So the next one, do we want to start this way and go down on committee reports?
Sure. I don't have anything to report at this time.
Okay.
And then we will be adjourning for PCTPA for the month of July, so we won't even have one this month.
Oh, wow.
And I have nothing to report.
Okay. Public Safety Committee, it was actually supposed to be today, but there's a lot of stuff, as Deputy Bilodeau mentioned, about the fire. So we actually didn't meet today before the meeting, but I believe Josh Tyndall is going to come up with a new date.
He is, Lieutenant Tyndall was actually called to the Butte fire, so
Right.
he had to respond to that, so we're waiting for him to return to set up a scheduled meeting on that one, and we're looking at the EOC center is what the tour is going to be, and subsequent to that, to bring it to council for a presentation on that item as well too.
And then it's up to you if you want to mention the FEMA. I know we both went to that meeting.
So there's a floodplain modeling, the next cycle of review. There are some areas, I think, within Loomis that the floodplain is being proposed to be changed. On there, they will open it up for public comment probably later this year. And then we have, I think, 90 days at that time to review those documentations. I've shared those links with staff and some of the developers that are actually proposing to do development in the adjacent areas where it's clear that there's going to be a change in the floodplain area. Whether it's reduced or increased, I'm not sure. But staff will stay apprised of that process, and we'll make sure we provide adequate comments to FEMA.
Okay. And then the last thing I will say, other than that, I don't have a whole lot to bring up about committee, other than the fact that he and I did go to Hell French Meadows after the last council meeting. We had Michelle McIntyre there, Placer County Water Agency. It was a great retreat. I learned a lot. I think it was a great opportunity to team build with other cities and their staff and city administration. Wes was there. It just was a very positive experience. And from that standpoint, I think that would fall under committee, because it was like a 24-hour committee. So I'm going to kind of move over and let Jenny finish up, because that's pretty much all I have to say on that. But.
Well, tomorrow's that LAFCO meeting at 4 o'clock, and it's available online if you want to watch, where they're going to have a highlights of the South Placer Fire District's master plan, so if anybody's interested. And then they also have a strategic planning session next Tuesday the 16th. I'll be attending that. And then the only other thing is we should be seeing something from the library strategic planning soon, so stay tuned to when that comes out, there'll be outreach to community members to have input on that too. But other than that, that's all I have.
Okay. So then if nobody else has anything to say, I guess we can adjourn. Yeah, in 2 hours, 8:03. Thank you for coming. I'm adjourning. Oh, thank you. Right.